All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday Night Shuffle Bus here with me, Neil, and not with Jesse because he sucks and he's on vacation. Um, Instead, I have with me Mr. BillyBadAim, who has been gracious enough to come on and fill the void here, so you don't have to just listen to me by myself. Billy, how you doing tonight?
Great, man. How about you?
Good. I'm glad to have you. Doing this with an additional person, even if it's only one, is so much easier
Yeah,
than
having that
just
additional voice is
right,
entertaining.
just me goofing. Um, so yeah, obviously you've been around our community for a little while here. One of the most common chatters in our streams, which I really appreciate. We love having the community input, and you've also played in a bunch of our events and a bunch of events in general. Um, what what kind of got you into SoulForge to begin with?
Uh, well, I played the original SoulForge, the digital client, when it first came out, and so,
Oh,
uh,
like way back in the day when it was
yeah, like right when it first came out, the original SoulForge. Yep.
I played that too actually when I remember being on you got some fans here on the
Yeah.
chat already.
Yeah.
Cardboard Newt and Joel and Grandfather.
Yeah. They're all
Um,
coming.
yeah, see, Jesse and I are just really unpopular, so we need to have more guests more often. That's a um,
Maybe you can have
okay, good to see you.
Yep.
I I keep trying to get Ryan to come on the show, but he has real life and kids and stuff.
Right.
But, oh,
Oh,
he's
there he
he's
is.
here in the chat. After he
Yeah.
told me, he was like, "I don't think I can be on the show, man," and he's just here in the chat.
He's probably just
But
passively watching while doing real life stuff.
that's okay. You're 100% an upgrade for that guy. Um,
Appreciate it.
so yeah, I remember playing the digital game also. It was a big deal for me because I obviously been a Magic player for a long time. And Brian Kibler was like, I don't know what his position in the company was at that time, but um, I very early on in like the lifetime of Twitch as a service, he was
Hmm.
on a Twitch stream for SoulForge. I was just like badgering him, trying to get a job there, like in the Twitch chat.
Yeah.
And I was just watching because they were giving out beta keys for the digital game on Steam. That
Oh,
was a
that's
lot of
super
fun.
cool.
Did you play a lot? Uh,
Yeah. I mean, uh, I have, I think 255 hours, which isn't a super lot, but that was by the time it ended.
it's more than me
Uh,
for sure. I mostly just played limited. I really like that draft format they had.
hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, it was really sad the day that they made all the changes and then no one came back. So,
well, what happened? I guess I'm not familiar with this.
oh, well, from what I remember, there was like the way packs were set up is like all the recent sets cost like one of the monetary things. I think they had gold and silver. And so like
Okay.
silver you could earn from playing the game and gold you could buy. And so like a lot of the recent sets and stuff cost gold, but you could buy like like silver a random pack that gave you cards from all the sets for silver and stuff.
Okay.
But they basically changed how all that worked. I don't remember exactly, and then they changed the pricing on all the packs, and then they changed some of the other stuff, and then it basically killed the game.
Huh. I guess I have
Because
no
I
recollection of that. But
Yeah.
that happens a lot, right? When they do a pricing restructuring, like it can easily go awry for digital games or physical games or whatever. But
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean
because
that.
I know.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say I know a lot of people around here that played too, and they said it was for that very same reason.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of why Jesse and I got into this game as well. We obviously like have been covering all kinds of card games for a long time, but I didn't even know this game was coming out. He kind of said, "Hey, there's this like Kickstarter game that maybe we should cover after we're done with Ashes." And he said it was Soulforge, and I'm like, "Wait, is that the same as like the digital game on Steam?" And he didn't even know about that. uh, so yeah, I mean, very similar reason why I started playing here as well. Though the game
Yeah,
is like not very similar, except in like name and artwork.
right. Yeah. Yeah,
But
there's some similarities, but not a lot.
I guess the way that combat works is the same, where you have like the 5 lanes and
Yeah,
they
but
just
there
battle.
was no back row on the
Right,
original. It was
right,
just you throw your creatures out and they just bang into each other.
right.
So, and then you could, what was cool about the other one was you had single cards and you could build your decks however you wanted, and you could use one faction or multiple factions in your deck.
Right. Yeah, obviously the deck building component is completely different, but
Hmm.
that's kind of more like it's less like the old one was different because that was just, at that time there was no Keyforge. We were just kind of in like, the middle time of when Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh were kind of like the only competitive games, and every game that was coming out and every game that existed at the time was just all the same like that, where they were in a distribution model of randomized packs and then a constructed model of you just build your deck of whatever cards you own like that. Only in
Yep.
like the last 5 or 10 years have we moved to, I guess, branching out of that as that gets beaten to death as a model.
Yeah, yeah, because like Keyforge came out as the algorithm and SoulForge Fusion now. I don't remember if there was other ones too.
Yeah, I don't think there's another like NFT type like this besides those two, but it just we stopped. I would almost say that original SoulForge on the digital game was like almost a little bit ahead of its time in like pieces, because even at that time we were still in like many games were just following the Magic model of like randomized draw and a like kind of linear-ish resource curve,
Hmm.
whereas obviously in SoulForge you just like play a card and you're limited by actions rather than resources.
Yep.
Which Yu-Gi-Oh did that to a certain extent uh, from a long time ago, but um, the digital game that was another similarity, I guess, between the digital game and the current version.
Hmm.
But,
Yeah. The digital game had a lot of like card draw mechanics and stuff too that the this one doesn't have.
right, yeah, that like the more that I play current SoulForge, the more I think that like almost the more defining element of the game than the like randomized half decks is the kind of like lottery turn draw,
Yeah. Not
where
being able to set up your hands.
right, you don't really have long-term sequencing control over your plays. It's like you play like, you know, 9 to 12 mini games against your opponent,
Yeah.
uh, where you just like draw 5, pick 2, and you can't like I was talking to Ryan when we were playing last night. I'm really enamored with the card Frost Hulk right now.
Hmm.
I just like that card, but it suffers a lot from like effects like that suffer a lot from you not being able to time it yourself.
Yep. It's
That
when
would
you
be
draw it.
right. That would be a card that you would just love to hold in your hand a lot of the time.
Hmm.
Um, and there's obviously other examples of effects like that, but uh, it it's almost to me like now. Originally, I thought you were just a slave to the deck algorithm mostly,
Hmm.
but now it feels more like the defining element of SoulForge um, is those like six six to 9 to 12 like random fives.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because it's crazy how many times like you think you got it perfect, and then they have the perfect time dreadbolt to kill the one thing you were hoping to keep around.
Right. I mean, how many games like I haven't played a super large number of games. I mean, definitely not compared to anybody that's in the chat right now or you or the other big names in the community. I'm sure that my experience is much lower in total game count, but in the number of games that I've cast, the number of games I've played, like how often does the game feel really swingy because somebody will have pretty good control of the game up through like mid cycle 2 or cycle 2 turn 3, and then it'll just be like 2 turns in a row of bad draw for them or a good draw for your opponent or a combination thereof, and the game is just completely flipped on its head, uh,
Yep.
due to no other force other than like you flip to cycle 3 and your opponent plays a couple gold cards and you're stuck on playing a level 1 and a level 2.
Yep. Yeah, there's been a lot of games where I'm sitting there on an empty board and they have a full board, and then in 2 turns it's flipped around.
Right. And that's I've kind of come around also on the idea that like the worst card in your deck is the most important card. Obviously we like look at all these decks and talk about like we want 2 or 3 specific things in the deck
Hmm.
that are good, but really it's like almost more important that you just have like the best bad draws, so like you can
Yep.
out bad draw your opponent.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because the biggest thing you always have to remember is like in in a fair deck that doesn't have like a lot of free actions, you're just playing 2 out of the 5 cards.
Right.
You can get into the free actions and the math that happens with all that, but yeah, most of the time you're just playing 2 out of the 5 cards, and so you're just playing the best 2 cards you draw, or the best 2 for the situation. Sometimes it's not even the best card. Like I've had hands full of level 2s, and I had to play the level 1 because it was the best option.
Right. And the deck becomes diluted very quickly, where if you like you were saying like without free action. So we'll talk about in a vacuum here where both decks are kind of playing fair. Obviously, like the good decks play free actions because that's like the best thing you can do in the game.
Yep.
But the if you're only upgrading 2 cards every every turn, you're upgrading 6 cards every cycle. You end up in a situation where in cycle 3 more often than not you're going to draw 3 or 4 level 1s,
Yep.
and that the math is like not in your favor very much at all. Obviously, the game allows for that to be broken a little bit when you get to play extra cards or when you get free upgrades for stuff, but
Yeah. I think that's where like Aloyan, not to break too far from what we're talking about, but I think that's where Aloyan was supposed to gain its advantage in the game, was that they upgrade cards for free, but then a lot of the other factions started being able to play cards for free, which is, you could say, better than just upgrading
right.
it.
It's funny that like uh, they they have some free cards, right? They have like
Electrojet.
cards. I think that card's great. That
Yeah,
card's so
but
good. But
mm,
they have cards that are like situationally free or like free at level 2.
yeah, like a Warmonger's mod or something.
Right. Like the Ether Wings.
Hmm.
But they like through design, I assume. I have no actual like
Yeah, I don't
undercover
either.
knowledge of this or anything, but I assume that they like tone that down, thinking that the additional upgrades that their design got would make up for that to a certain extent. Oh yeah, Nuta corrects me. It's not Aether, it's Aegis Wings.
Yeah.
Um,
There you go.
but I don't think it really panned out that way. Kind of, at least the way that we see the current meta.
Hmm.
But it's funny to me that like the second best color at upgrades is purple, right?
Right.
They have theirs is all discard pile oriented upgrades, but they have
Yep.
Necromancer and
Root meal.
Grumiel and the terrible robot Osmori Mech.
Hmm.
Um,
And don't forget about Circe, Army Commander.
right, and Army Commander, yeah, and they also happen to be like the best team at playing extra cards.
Yep.
So like they got like second place in the upgrades and first place in the extra cards. I don't know. Everybody can ask Joel how good purple is. That's the
Yep.
um,
He'll tell you how amazing it is.
yeah. So I don't know that kind of an interesting little conversation. I'm glad to know that there's another OG like digital Soul Forge player out there. I know that Cody was as well from Charge Plate.
Yep. Yeah. Well, like I was just scrolling through Facebook one day and I seen like Soulforge Fusion on Kickstarter. I was like, "What's this?"
Mm-hmm.
and, and then like just started bringing back all the nostalgia from like back when I played the digital game, and I was like, "All right, you got me."
Right. Yeah. Every time I play a Wisp, I get upset that Echo Wisp is not a card.
Yep. And then, do you remember like the old Spring Dryad, how it worked? It was
No, I don't.
just basically like if all your lanes were full, it ferocious roared your whole team.
I don't
And
remember that
so
card. Weird.
yeah. And so like, well, I played a lot of Utera in the old one because like I did the Echo Wisps and Spring Dryads, and then there was the Frost Tracker, where like the level 2 Frost Tracker lets you play a level 1 creature for free.
Right. I remember that card. Yeah.
Hmm. And so like I would just dump dudes all over the table and like drop like the I
Yeah.
believe it was the Spring Dryad, but yeah, I would drop it down and then you just pump the whole team, and then my whole team would just get huge and you have a table full of just massive things.
Right. That game, very much similar to the current game, was all about extra card plays.
Oh yeah, yep.
um,
It just got crazier because you could play one faction, and so then your synergies were just so much higher.
right. Because you got to choose all the good cards. That was the other thing.
Yeah, you got to
uh,
choose all the good cards, and you got to play all in one faction. So like, you know, one of the things is like Tempest. A lot of Tempest cards cares about damaging your other creatures, and some of the creatures in Tempest care about taking damage, but Tempest is the only one that does that sort of thing.
right.
And so it'd be really hard to build a deck with two factions that cares about that. I'm not saying it's possible, but it's just one of the things that I've seen synergistically that's kind of out of whack.
Yeah. I hate to always complain about the like the synergy numbers in set 2, but it always just kind of bothers me a little bit because the set 1 decks feel so much better because they have like the kind of thing you're talking about. Obviously, in this version of the game, it's to a much lesser extent than the digital version where you just have to pick all the good cards. But
Yeah.
uh, the set 1 decks, you could find a set 1 deck that hit 4 or 5 cards within the synergy, and you would get to like do these cool, powerful things that the game is designed to do. And in set 2, that just kind of doesn't happen
Yep.
uh, because the number of things that are available as potential packages is so much bigger that you just always get
Mhm.
pairs or threes instead of like the big 4 or 5 or 6s that you could have got in set 1.
Yeah. Like I know what you're saying because I have two like Tempest mage decks that have 5 mages, uh, and Uranti Elementalist, and a lightning brand, stuff like that. And where like the decks are just crazy because that's what you want.
Right. Yeah. Just in set one, I kind of spouted some propaganda for a while on the stream, like talking about that they changed the algorithm and that they
Yeah.
just like decreased the numbers. And it's not exactly like they just like flipped a switch and made it worse. What happened was, because set two is so much more complicated, the number of buckets that there are, like in set one there were like 3 buckets per color, right? I made that up, but for
Right.
example, they have like
Right.
like you said, like mages and spells matter and self damage matter, and those are like the only 3 buckets you can pull cards from in Tempest in set one. In set two, there's like 6 or 7 buckets, so then you start getting just like 5 pairs instead
Yep.
of all out of 1 bucket. So they
Yeah,
didn't
'cause
actually like change the algorithm. They just increased the denominator, and it made it more awkward.
right. Yeah, because like even Soulbinds, I think Soulbinds probably changed that too.
Right. I know that there's like obviously there's like at least one card in every color that cares about soulbinds. I think maybe it's not in every color, but there's the green creature, the blue creature. It's like when you play a soulbind, it gets bigger, and then it has some effect at 8 power. Um,
Yeah.
I
I,
I'm
I
trying to
know
think
there's
if there's
ones that
a
I know there's ones for exalts.
right.
The
Sorry,
Mustic,
that's what I was talking about.
yeah, the Mustic Megatha and
Yeah.
the Voltaic Magus, I think,
Yep.
are the two you were talking
And
about.
the purple one is deploy. You can sack an exalt to kill a thing at the same level as the exalt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a what am I missing? Red one?
The red one is the Rageborn Eruptor.
What does that one do?
It gets plus attack for each exalt in play.
Oh, I didn't even know that was
And
a
it
card.
and it has it's an elemental and it has breakthrough.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and then Cardboard Newt saying the Cold Hard Brute.
Right. So that it's just like another bucket, right? Like it's just like
Mm-hmm.
another synergy you get. So like because the set size didn't increase, but the number of potential synergies did, then it comes
Yep.
out with worse overall synergy. But
Yep.
I'll
Yeah.
probably keep complaining about that for a long time, but it just
Yeah.
because I bought a
Yeah.
bunch of set 2 product.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I can't tell you how many decks I've pulled where it's like I got, a mystical Tangle Sprout and a Sower, and it's like cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks. Thanks, Stoneblade. I appreciate appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, it's weird. But,
And then you get like a Patriarch with a Basher, and then you get
God, the dinosaurs
some
are
other things.
awful in set 2.
Yeah.
Not because they're bad, but just because of what we've been talking about. Like even in set 1, there was almost not enough dinosaurs for dinosaurs to be good. You had to like really hit the like 6 or
Lottery.
7er lottery.
Yeah.
But in set 2, it's just like I wish they were good because I think dinosaurs are cool. And again, like for all we know, in 1.5 million decks or whatever, somebody has like the perfect
Double
like
Rex.
right like or Patriarch Rex like that's 7 dinosaurs and a Vine Lash and something, like
Mm-hmm.
but we'll just it's like statistically impossible that exists, and it's like statistically impossible that we would ever see it in a competitive game
Mm-hmm.
because the number of decks, like even among the people that we're talking about here in chat or in the discords or whatever, we have what, like 1% of the decks that have ever been printed. Just my stream thinks I'm playing League of Legends. How do I even change that? Settings?
Yeah, yeah, uh,
Uh,
yeah. Grandfather says Furious Sharkback is a good dinosaur, so that's one that's good on its own.
Agreed. I
But
I
then
would
you
never
also got
argue that like there's lots of good single dinosaurs that are good cards. I'm talking about like
as a whole, yeah,
actual as
a
an
synergy.
archetype.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then you get stuff like Oxodon Rager, where it's just ripe for a Dreadbolt to hit the creature next to it.
To 2 for 1 yeah.
So like playing that thing is just terrible, and it's just like vile, I would much rather have a corrupt creature than a vile one for that same reason.
Right. Yeah. Man, I don't know how to change this. We're just gonna be playing League of Legends all night. You guys have to.
He's we're trying to get the views.
Yeah, that's right. Farming League of Legends views. uh,
He's got the strats.
who has a Furious Shardback? Steven, I don't know who has a Furious Shardback. I've seen
I
one.
oh
Who?
Steven, he's the one that got fourth at UC Indy.
Oh.
So you probably seen him. He's the one with the chaining shambler.
Oh yeah. I didn't play him that day, but I did watch many of his games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Grandfather's opened up a few on his YouTube channel, and I have
there's.
I have one. So
I opened up. Uh, how many displays did I open? I don't know. 6 displays or something. Um, and I don't have one. I don't know.
yeah, I didn't pull one. I had it gifted to me by a gracious person, but it's a neat card.
Well, yeah, it's obviously stupid. Like the
Yeah,
I
I put it with a lead the charge, and that's fun.
I have no idea how, and I'm not saying that they do it wrong. Like
Right.
I have faith that Stoneblade does a good job with this game, or I wouldn't continue to um I wouldn't continue to play it and cover it and stuff.
Hmm.
So I believe they do a good job. How they decide to balance things based upon the algorithm, I don't understand
Yep.
because in set 1, the card Blizzard Shaman kills itself after 1 activation, right?
I mean, basically, yeah.
Yeah,
You
it
can use
just
it. You can
assuming
technically
nothing else
use it
happens.
twice. You can technically use it twice, but yeah.
Right. So we compare that to Furious Shardback, which is like already just a bigger, better body
Yep.
that you can do a bunch of times,
Yep.
and
Or
it's like
you
more one-sided.
Yeah. Well, and then you also have like everybody like the corrupt drone, but now you get the bloodletting drone.
Bloodletting Drone is my favorite. I don't
Yeah.
have one, but that sounds cool to me.
Yeah.
It's like probably not even very good. Like I'm sure it's fine, but it's probably just like okay.
Right.
Just
Well,
like
I'm just
like
saying.
Corrupt Drone was just okay, but
Yep. Yep. But then
it's
you just have a bloodletting and do it over and over and over.
right. It's just interesting to me how they decide that like that's okay, right? Because I use the Blizzard Shaman comparison because that's a card obviously that isn't a forge,
Hmm.
and uh, they decided that that card was like good enough that you shouldn't be able to activate it more than twice.
Hmm.
Furious Shardback is a bigger, better body that you can activate more than twice,
Yep.
and it like I don't know. It just obviously somewhere in there, Ankh is saying that it was a
It should have been
um,
excluded. Yeah.
right, that it was an oversight and not intentional. So maybe that's the case, but the somewhat I wanted the ultimately the question that I'm trying to ask is like how much, if any, do they weight the rarity of a card in the algorithm against its balance? Yeah, grandfather's saying this is a common, right? So common forge is still probably rarer than rare unforged, I would think. Just because of the number of
Yeah, the number that it can get.
right, the number of possibles in the slot. So I don't know if they do that. I don't know if they take that into account during card balancing, thinking like how rare it is or not. But just kind of a thing that comes to mind when you think about stuff like Furious Shardback.
Yeah. Yep. It's yeah, because I was abusing it. I matched it up with a Dark Forge Drain, like Mantis, lead the charge deck. It was fun.
Yeah,
I'm not
I mean,
saying
all
it's
those
good
cards
or
are good,
competitive.
but
I wasn't saying it's not going to be super competitive, but it's super fun to just use your Furious Shardback multiple times in a turn and stuff like that too.
I can't remember the guy's name that I played a couple times when I was first getting this game. And he had a Fury Shardback with a commander in the deck too, and it was just going absolutely bonkers on me. Nargath commander.
Oh man.
Onk says, I think they have said that they have always wanted to keep the power band to be pretty tight, but the rarity is more about complex cool effects. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, Onk. That's obviously, like, you can tell that the complexity curve is definitely weighted in rarity, where card, like, the most obvious example of that, I think, is Omni from set 1, where, like, it's, like, the super rare, and it clearly is, like, both mechanically and just, like, the wall of text on it is more than most cards in the game.
Yep. And it always came with its buddy, so you always got two cards in the deck.
Justice says, interestingly, only 40 Furious Shardbacks registered, whereas a random rare unforged has 284 registered copies. Yeah, Justice. I mean, that just follows like what my instinct was, that just the sheer number of combinations of Shardback, because it's a forge, like
arrogant, windy.
Well, yeah, there's what, like there's 25 of them or something, right? That it could be. So just that, when you have to roll both halves in the slot, even if the rare is, 1 in 20 instead of 1 in 10, when you're rolling what is, 1 in 10 25 times, I don't know exactly how the math works, but that seems to be correct.
Yeah.
It just feels that way. Like, obviously, most of my experience just comes from opening a bunch of displays and
right.
getting a bunch of duplicate rares and not any duplicate forges. I mean, I'm sure I got a couple duplicate forges of something, but
yeah, grandfather pulled duplicate Furious Shardbacks on his channel, so
yeah,
so he kept pulling them there for a while.
Yeah, maybe he'll tell us how much product of set 2 did you open to get your 4 Shardbacks? You're gonna have to tell us if you don't want to. Just curious.
And then Steven also noted, it said even better with Elementalist Ritual.
Yeah, lots of cards are better with Elementalist Ritual. I just think decks in general are better with Elementalist Ritual.
Yeah.
That card's pretty something. I don't know about that card. that card honestly might be better than Rumble Boy.
Yeah, you just increase all the non-combat damage and you just do dumb stuff with that.
It's just never a bad draw, right? Like maybe Rumble is still the best card in the set for sealing, because so many decks, like if the deck is rolled good, are just unfair. But like just in any generic deck, Elementus Ritual is like a card that anytime you draw it in the game, it's probably insane. Whether you're ahead or behind or otherwise.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've just wiped people's boards with it.
Right, like what's the worst case scenario? Like it's the worst case scenario is you play it for like
you just don't have an elemental when you
like,
draw it. Yeah.
Right. I guess that's true. So you play it for choose one, and it's like deal. What does it do? 3 to the player.
Yeah, it's so you can increase non-combat damage by 2, or you can do 3 to a creature or player, or you can deal 2 to all non-elementals at level 1.
Right. That card seems pretty good to me. Ankh thinks it's not good if you don't have the elemental support. I mean, still like good, right? Like people play lots of deal 3s at level 1.
Yeah. I mean, at its worst, it's what, a Blizzard Shaman for non-elementals, right. Probably.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, because the worst mode is probably damage to player, I think.
The 3 to creature or player.
Right. I don't know. Card is good. It's like I was talking earlier about like what's your worst card. Like that card is always like, you know.
Yeah.
If that card is like the 5th best card in your deck is crazy.
There you go. Ben says he thinks it's an amazing card. He's just saying it has a pretty low floor.
Maybe that's true. Maybe just a 3 damage removal spell or a Pyroclasm is not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I mean, Pyroclasm's fine. There's been all kinds of times where Blizzard Shaman's been handy, you know?
Right. Blizzard Shaman's a little better than that because it leaves a 3-1 behind, but...
yeah, 3-2.
Is it a 3-2?
Yeah, it's
a 3-4? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a 3-4, and then it's like a 5-8. You know, it can activate twice.
Mm-hmm.
So it does 2 damage, then 4 damage. So yep, it's not nothing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's really fun because I have decks with that and like Undeady and stuff in it, and so you just get free Undeady.
God, Undeady is like one of my very favorite cards in the game. That card is sweet. I recently like purchased a smattering of decks from Tess on the Discord, and one of them I bought just because it has a Betrayer Undeady.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't even know if the deck's very good. I just think it's cool, and and it's just sweet. It's just like a sweet card.
Yeah, there was a time where I had a deck with it was just the Tempest Necrium deck, and the Tempest half had Undeady, and all the time I would play like a commanding creature and I'd pump the Undeady, and they're like, "Wait, that's a zombie?" I'm like, "Yeah."
That's funny. I guess I'd never even considered its creature type, though. Obviously, it makes sense that it would be a zombie Yeti.
Yeah. Most of the time, I like to just use it for Blight Witch fodder because.
Right. Just you know. I mean, we were talking about just how good extra cards are, right? Like, and even if he's like just a poopy little tutu, like he's still just like a free card, and
Yep, and then it's really fun when they try to kill your Blight Witch and it's at like 1 or 2 health, and you're like, well, now I got this free Undeady, and now I'm going to activate it and kill the Undeady.
Yep.
You know, you want to talk about all the free stuff? How about a free spell off of a free creature? You know.
Right. Yeah. Undeady is a card again that I think is like that's like a card that makes a good deck into a great deck. If your deck isn't very good, then your Undeady isn't very good. But if your deck is already pretty good, the Undeady is just like one of those things that jumps at another level because it's such a high power level play to just kind of have a free creature.
Yeah, it blocks Korzithian Dreadmaw.
That's true.
Pretty high floor, huh?
That card is I don't know. I can't say enough good things about Undeady. That card's sweet.
Yeah, no, and it being aggressive. Played it for
Yeah,
free in empty lanes off Forge all the time.
right. And it's only like a bad stat line at level 1, right? Like
Yeah.
it's obviously
But
harder to free as it gets bigger, but
yeah.
not impossible. And you can have just like a big swingy turn when you play
Yeah.
a 8-7 or whatever the hell it is.
It's a 2-2 then an 8-6. Yeah.
8-6.
Mhm. Yeah. It's one of those super fun cards. I have it in one of my Spellslinger decks with a Blight Witch, and it
Yeah. I mean, it's in a good color for Blight Witch too because obviously the Spells Matter decks are red and purple, just in
yep.
general.
Yeah.
That card
Yeah.
would be bonkers if you got a purple Betrayer one in some. I mean,
Some
I
Blight
guess you're
Witch
like
deck.
you have to have like a good purple deck with it again, like it. But
All right. Yeah. It's only as good as the deck.
yeah,
If your creatures don't stick around because they're tiny, then the Yeti isn't ever free.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a 2-2, then an 8-6, then a 12-10.
yeah. That's like a fine stat line for an aggressive creature past level 1.
Yeah. And it's not even rare. It's a common.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
let's move over and talk about that tournament I want to talk about because apparently I don't know what day this was, how recent this was, but there was a pop-up tournament, and many of the people in chat were in it, so maybe they were not going to get a lot out of this. But
It was Sunday at 8 p.m.
I'm going to move over to my screen here so we can see the decks and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
apparently there's this pop-up tournament of 8 players, and it's you and essentially like literally everyone good in the game. Like
Yep.
if this was like the roster of the Gen Con tournament, it would not surprise me.
Yep.
Uh, I
Do you,
think there's more players registered for Gen Con right now than this, but I bet
mhm.
like essentially all these people are. The only person on this list that I don't know is Matt, and maybe I know them as a different Discord name.
He's
Um,
yeah. It's Kuz. He's the one that has the triple Shambler deck.
oh, I didn't even know that was a
He's
thing.
yeah. He's the one that does the fifth cycle podcast with Trey.
Oh, okay, it's that Matt. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So since we had you on and you participated in the tournament,
But
I
you can
just
see
wanted
my beautiful stat line 001.
001. Well, I mean, why did Eric is like, oh god, this tournament, and
Yeah.
Sam is making sure
You
that
see
like,
you see
why is
Eric's
he
stat line too.
000?
Well,
How
look
did
at
that
his deck.
happen?
You can look at his deck. He's
Sorry to call
if
you out, Justice. I didn't like know this was a.
he's trying to level up his the green half of his Page Walker deck because they're like separated by 1 win each,
Okay,
and so he wants to silver his Page Walker deck, but he has to get the green half up, the renown up, and the green half for to match his Aloyan half,
right.
and so he's
He
trying to
says
find pairs that work.
lol. This was advertised as a quote chance to silver stuff up, so I played a half of a good deck with another half, which wasn't good pairing, but I was not warned of the field. I mean, when you're talking about like like chance to silver qualifiers prior to Gen Con like this when we're a month and a half away, it probably is going to be a lot of good players. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so which of these halves is the good half? I haven't barely
The
even looked at
green,
it. Okay.
yeah, the Utera. The Utera, it's what I don't know if you saw
Oh,
his.
yep. Okay.
You
Because
remember his Denver deck? It's the green half of
right,
his
we
Denver
talked
deck.
about this on stream last week or the week before shortly that it was double Page Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Okay.
So he's trying to get the green Page Walker a win so that it matches his Aloyan one.
Yeah, this deck looks pretty good. What's in here? This card's sweet. I love me an Adept. Obviously, I just like love all the free cards, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this red half looks good too. Uh,
Yep. Yeah, it's just playing that deck against the rest of the field.
but how do you? So my question still stands. How do you end up with no wins, no losses, and no ties? Just like didn't play a game? Is that not what this means?
Well, uh, I played him in the last round because we were both the 0 win people, and so I beat him in the last round. So he didn't win out any, and I won
But,
one because I beat Eric.
oh, okay, I see. Sorry, I was reading this as wins, losses, draws,
No,
not as like points per
it's
round.
yeah, that's
Okay,
points per round.
I got it.
So
That makes more sense. Okay,
yeah, so he lost 3 rounds.
okay.
So he didn't win any of them. So
Well,
yeah, the ones are the
some
wins, and
somebody
the
has to
zeros are the
lose,
losses.
right? That's
Yeah.
It's too bad that it was you, Eric. But I mean, I think your deck looks good. I don't. We're gonna look at the rest of the field as we go through it here. So
Yep.
maybe,
Yep.
maybe, maybe good is not good enough. Maybe it has to be great. Uh,
Hmm.
but I mean, I think this deck looks pretty good. There's like no cards in here that I think I would be unhappy drawing ever. How many mages is it? Enough. Four? Yeah, plenty to always have good conflagrate.
Hmm.
Oh, and Talisman's a mage, and Pagewalker's a mage.
Hmm.
Oh, which has mage synergy. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. It's the only time I've had a losing record in any tournament other than the time I played in the OG Gen Con constructed tournament as sealed. Well, I don't know what the fields were like, but obviously this is a very
Oh yeah,
tough
it was
field.
rough. Oh yeah.
All right, well let's talk about your deck because you're on this the stream right
Yeah.
now.
This is that Spellslinger deck I was telling you about. So, yep, number 6
Okay,
there.
so you have 9 spells. It's a lot
Hmm.
of spells. With a Blight Witch and a Dark Heart, okay.
And the Undeady.
Yeah, and the Undeady. There's the skipper. And a Sentinel, okay. And a Chaining. Yeah, this is a lot of spell synergy. Necrovive.
And the Sentinel. The Sentinel's so good.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this deck looks really good. What did you which Forge one did you play?
I always play the Sunder.
Okay.
So it gives me Stimbolt in cycle 2, and then I get a free spell swarm in cycle 3. So with all the spells I play, the spell swarm can get really big. And then if we do make it to cycle 4, there's an 8 damage gathering storm waiting for you.
So you lost round 1, you lost round 2, and you beat Eric in round 3,
Yep. Round 1, I played against Ryan.
who won the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll look at
So
his deck later.
yeah. So against Ryan and against Jurch, I played Jurch in the second round.
Okay.
My first 2 hands in cycle 1 turn 1 and cycle 1 turn 2, I had 2 1-spell hands, and
Well, that
that
doesn't
just
seem
set
very
the
likely.
yeah. Jurch didn't think so either.
So what it
So
I'm,
cycle 1
you're
turn 1 and cycle
11
1.
you're 11-9, so you're like 45% to draw a spell in any particular card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I
All
drew
right.
two 1-spell hands in a row in cycle 1 turn 1 and cycle 1 turn 2, and that just set me so far back I couldn't catch up in either game
Wait.
because
Oh, okay. In separate games though.
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
but
was I
yeah,
was like, how is it possible that you drew one spell 2 turns in a row?
yeah,
But
yeah, and it happened twice in a row. So,
yeah. I mean, I guess
and it would
I
be
don't know.
like
I don't know how the
like
deck plays,
mhm.
but
It's
is it just because you want more spells to level up? Is why you want the
it's
spell
be,
in turn 1?
it's because of Blight Witch and chaining and stuff like that, so that I have free stuff that I can do.
Right. I just
I
mean
always
like ideally almost you would want your turn one to be like
a spell, a chaining invoke is the spell. So like,
oh sure. I mean I guess if you're going super big like you do something
right.
stupid like uh oh you don't have a spell that hits your own guy like for any real profit. I was trying to think of a way you could like play your whole
Yeah.
hand, but uh
Yeah, I mean, you could like chaining invocus undeady. Like you could hit the chaining invocus with the undeady, play the undeady, and then play a
yeah.
blight witch, eat the undeady, blah, and go down that road. You know.
No, I mean this deck obviously looks great. Uh I'm interested to see where we go from here as we go up the decks because
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
This is a 0-0-1 deck.
right. So like let's find like Newt or Ben or somebody that wasn't in the tournament. Like if you just like saw this deck, what do you rank this deck out of 10? Like for me this looks like has to be like a 7 or an 8, right? Like it's like very close to
Yeah, because I even put the Circe's call in it too because I play so many spells and then the call just
right.
gives me
This
bodies.
this card's obviously insane also in the it's super good on the Blight Witch turn and it's just like really good most of the other times.
Hmm. And it's good with chaining invocus too. You just play a
Yeah.
spell, chaining invocus spell. It gets kind of awkward sometimes because there's a lot of times where I'll have like a fit of rage, a chaining invocus, and a pyre song, and then they have no creatures with reduced health, and so
Yeah.
you're just like kind of stuck because you want to play the fit of rage second, but there's nothing to pyre song, and so you're just like, oof.
Well, let's look at okay, who are the other let's look at Greg. Is Greg in the chat? He's here sometimes. I don't know if he's here tonight.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mr.
Ryan was here earlier. He may be able to speak on it if Greg isn't here. If Ryan's still here.
Eric says on the nosebleed competitive scene, this is a 6.
There you go.
All right, so this is Greg, obviously double ultimate champion Greg.
Hmm.
Um,
There you go. Eric says it's a 4 to 8 range depending on how it draws.
everything has bad draws. I just in
Yeah.
general like that deck looks very good to me. So this has a Krogius, has an Army Commander. Did he play the Circe?
Uh, I don't remember. I watched Grandfather's YouTube video where Grandfather played against him, and Grandfather barely squeaked that one out. So
I
I
mean,
imagine, I
this
imagine,
Nova is like just okay. It must be Circe. It
yeah. I guess that would be the Circe.
has a Batterhide and a Vermin. No fun. No fun to be had, biologist.
Yeah, Cardboard Newt. It's my weakness too. I love that Spellslinger deck. It's my baby, but
I
it's
swear
so
that,
inconsistent.
and I've been saying this for a long time. It feels to me like if you really hit the lottery, that like obviously again if you could just choose your 10, you'd build some
Mhm.
kind of infinite combo probably, like with a betrayer and something. But
Outside of that, right?
like somewhere between realistic and actual pick your 10, like the
Right.
best deck in set 1 anyway has to be Spells Matter archetype.
Right. Yeah, because it's everything. Everything's just so free.
Right. And it's also aggressive, right? Like
Hmm.
it like wins the game pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh
especially when you start playing your lightning sparks and stuff, and really, and like you would ideally want like a flame jet too in your
right,
deck, so
just
that
the card Flamejet is insane, right? Like it's
yeah,
like in a vacuum it's not very good,
yeah,
but when if you had 6 things that care about it in your deck, all of a sudden it's like the best card to draw every turn.
yeah, like like having adept in there is super good because now adept is basically free
Right.
because you
And any chaining, any adept, uh like
so and then
any
like
of the like um, spell swarm guys, like
Hmm.
just anything that cares about spells, having a spell that you can play for free, and because most of the spell decks are going to be burn decks,
Hmm.
it advances your win condition. Like it has to be
Right. Well, and
super
it's
good.
what makes it so good too is like, Greg's and Ryan's decks both had Swamp Moss in there, and if you can like Flame Jet for free and knock them down to 45, they're gonna have to climb back up over 50 to play the Swamp Moss.
Yeah. Eric says
And
he thinks
that's
the
a big
Spells
deal.
Matter deck has the lowest floor, and I agree with that too. I'm talking
Yeah.
about ceiling in set
Hmm.
one. Um, and
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some combo deck I'm ignoring. But the
Yeah. Well,
it,
there's just so much opportunity to play free spells that it really raises the ceiling.
right, and they're not. I guess most of the life gain ones are not very conditional either. They just say like if you gain life, the only one
Mm.
that really is matters is Swamp Moss kind of
Yep.
for actually having a disruptible condition.
Yep. Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
it has to be over 50 and then over 40, and if you can keep them below like those thresholds, then that knocks them down a little bit.
All right. Well, let's talk about this Greg deck a little bit. So it's got a it's
Speaking
got
of free
a
spells, there's a
Betrayer
sculptor.
Sculptor. I don't know that that's very important to his winning
No.
here. Um,
Yeah, it's a double shambler, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah,
it has a
it's double
shambler harvester.
Shambler. Yeah, I mean, there's just like a pile of good cards, right? And green black is good.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
that's just like all it is. It's got a Krogius, has an army
Dreadbolt.
commander. Uh, it has it actually doesn't have like good removal spells. I guess it's like all creatures.
Yeah, I mean
Oh,
Botanimate and Dreadbolt
Botanimate
is good.
good. Yeah,
Botanimate and Dreadbolt are both good. But yeah,
yeah. It's just like
like
men. He's got a couple scientists for his harvester. I guess only one besides itself.
yeah,
Or is this a
harvest
scientist?
because
Yeah, biologist is a scientist.
yeah, Harvester always comes with another one. That's one of the things I learned. I didn't know about that before, but yeah, Harvester always comes with another scientist.
Interesting.
Hmm. So
Um,
every time you have a Harvester in a deck, there's always another scientist in it. So it's something neat to know.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, Stick seems good. How did he do? This is one of the 001s.
Yeah, he went 010. I know I watched the
Oh yeah,
grandfather
okay.
video and he barely lost to grandfather.
I mean, again, this deck looks good. It doesn't look insane to me.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it just gains life and
it just does all the good
shambles.
good green purple stuff.
Has a leyline vermin. Take care of the noble
Right, Leyline
problem.
Vermin is not a fair card.
Yep.
It's like not particularly crazy, like it, but it's just always good. Its stats are good. Its effect is good. It's
Yep.
good at every
It's
level.
always
Like it's
it's always useful.
yeah, it's just like always a good card to draw.
Yeah, having a force on 7 on the table is nothing to complain about.
All right, let's look at Weekend. Weekend, who has won one of our events, our first single day qualifier.
Yep. He hosts the Tuesday tournament too. For anybody that likes to play, wants to get out on Tuesdays and play. I played in it last night.
Is it just like a 3 rounder
Yeah,
in the evening?
most of the yeah. I won't play if it's not. I'm on Eastern time, and so
Yeah, me
being up
too.
being up past 11's not ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like more green purple good stuff.
So this
Cycle
is
Cycle 4 Army Commander with Krogius, Swamp Moss.
oh okay. I thought this was the one that had the Mantis too, because I've seen him play like Forge Seal
Yeah,
Mantis
yeah. This
Cersei a
one's
couple
just
times.
yeah. This one's just a Forge Seal.
Yeah, so this has the Cycle 4 Army Commander and the Krogius. Um, Find spells and let's Let's see, anything spicy.
So, how do you feel about like the number of spells in the decks? Like, if you see a deck like this green one where it just has, uh, or like the purple one where it just has the Dizzy Siphon and the Soul Reef, is like only having two spells kind of a turnoff for you? Or would you be okay with that?
Um, I honestly I think that I look at more decks on either end of the spectrum than I do just the generic three spell deck.
Hmm.
Like the number of spells doesn't turn me off or on to it more than like just what the cards are. And like obviously if it's got a bunch of spells, then it's interesting because of like spells matter archetype.
Hmm.
Whether
Or
it's
incidental spells matter stuff, where you like have a good deck and incidentally there's a Blight Witch in there or something.
right, yeah. I mean, I would just count that as spells matter archetype, like just having a Dark Heart or a Blight Witch or a Spite Maiden or whatever.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, your 4 or 5 spells becomes much more enticing. But that's just the kind of thing that I would look for, right? Is like, is this 8 guy deck good for any reason that it has 8 guys?
Hmm.
Like
A Shambling Druid,
yeah,
Betrayer Shambler.
that's neat.
Yep.
It's like cool that it makes a dude that can die. you know, it's like a
Yeah.
it's like a little better than just having a body with shamble on it because you get an additional body that could shamble.
Hmm.
Uh,
But it's not particularly good at
see,
living.
like this is the kind of deck that I look at and I'm like, it's similar to the
There's your mech.
yeah. I don't think this card is good. Does anybody think this card is good? It's just so small. I don't know, but uh, this is one of those decks, kind of like the Greg deck we just looked at, where I look at it, I'm like, I guess it's like a little above average, but it's just like not something I'm excited about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is like outside of the Swamp Moss and the Dizzy and Siphon, there's not really much else you're doing for free. And so, like,
Yeah, it's got
like
a
the
number
thing,
of like large guys. Maybe it doesn't even
yeah,
have as many large guys as I thought.
yeah.
It
Because the
has.
thing I always like to think is like if you're playing 2 cards a turn, you're probably not winning.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be free cards though. Like biologist is 2 cards on a turn, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Druid.
druid like creeper is almost 2 cards. It's like a card and a half.
Right. Well, I mean,
Uh,
you can you can create advantages with the cards, but it's it's essentially what I'm.
I mean, is this deck literally just like it's like all my dudes can trade and then I play a Krogius? Is that like
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
like the last 2 decks we looked at?
Yeah. It's pretty much what it looks like. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of like free stuff going on. This one only has one Shambler instead of two. I can
Yeah,
see where like Greg was trying to build around the double Shambler. And like
sure.
Dizzy and Siphon is like sort of free stuff. Where like with the Druid or the like especially with the Druid you can Dizzy and Siphon and sack
Yeah,
the
this
Whisper
sounds
and
good.
do
He has a
stuff.
biologist too that like makes a little crapper guy.
Hmm.
And you always end up with
But at that point you'd want to Siphon the Biologist, I think. Since
right,
the four Whispers would be a 4/4. But yeah.
right, yeah. I was referring to him as the crapper guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
um,
He's crapping the dudes.
yeah. Um, and Grandfather says, "Yet I beat Kor's Krogius with battle." I mean, I'm not saying that the deck wins every time because of that. I'm just trying to describe like what the common win condition of this deck is. I mean, I guess Venerable Bear is probably huge. It's pretty big.
Right.
Like
De- it's decent. Yeah, 6'5", 9'6".
it just feels like, and again, the last 2 decks we've looked at, like, just kind of, they have good guys. They're not like bad guys, but they're not great guys either. So you just like kind of trade cards one for one until you
Mm-hmm.
get to the place where you get to activate your Circe and put a 30/30 in play.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Uh,
basically just trying to gain life and live until you throw the hammer down.
yeah. All right, what else we got? Let's see. Um, weekend. Oh wait, this is the placings.
Yep. So then Coos is right above
Oh,
weekend there.
yeah, we got Church and Coos and Grandfather as the two
Hmm.
ones.
Yep. Church is who I played second.
Okay, let's look at Church's deck. Where are you at, Nate Churcherson? Brian Churcherson? I don't
Yeah.
know your name.
Yeah. That's who it is.
I was just looking at Nate on the thing and just said it. So he's playing Rumble. Oh, is this like
Yeah.
the expensive deck?
Hmm. Yeah. That's a really good Rumble deck. Really
This is
good.
like the big eBay deck, right? The
Hmm.
okay. It's
It's
got a blue.
very famous.
This card's sweet. I didn't even know this was a card. Is this a forge? Is it Evoker?
No, Evoker's a card, but Blitzing's the forge. It's mobility and breakthrough.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Evoker is the noun.
Yep. Yep. So you get when you play a spell, give it, pump it.
Okay. So you
Yep.
could have cool ones like a like a chaining one. That'd be cool.
Yep. Yep. Or windy.
Yeah. That'd be pretty big. That's like uh is Windy static or is it when it's deploy?
It's a deploy. It deals
So
damage equal to the number of spells or whatever.
it's like kind of a non-bow if it's Windy
Mhm. Right.
because you
Well,
want to play
it's
the
based
spells
off.
after you play the evoker.
Right.
All right, it's Charger Mammoth. This card's so good. Charger
Charger
Mammoth.
Mammoth.
It's,
Yeah, I mean, I sort of like it, but at the same time, it's like all the other replacement things. They kill your guy and you just got 2 for 1.
yeah, this one I
Whatever you
think is a
replaced it
little
with.
better than most of them because a lot of times you like because it has aggressive, you
Yeah.
get some weird value out of it.
The value
But
I get out of it, but the Nova deck I have has a Charger Mammoth too. The value I get out of it is people use the removal spells on it. So I play the Charger Mammoth and they usually kill it.
yeah,
And so that's
well, right. That
that
I mean
that
that's good too,
yeah. I was like, if you want to use your removal on that, that's fine. Here's a dark card.
and it has the ritual. How many like
Yeah, it's
barf?
silly good. It's got a Warbringer Ritual, a Thunder Crash Field, a
That
Flame
thing
Jet.
all the things we were just saying about Flamejet.
Yeah,
This one doesn't even have like a lot of things that make Flamejet good. I guess it's like
it's just
just
a
Nova.
value. It's just and the Evoker.
Oh, right, and the Evoker. Okay, that's probably enough.
You know, and so
Let's look at the other half. Obviously, red half dumb. Let's look at the purple half.
yeah, I think the purple half's okay. It doesn't have a Vampiric.
It does have a Blight Witch and a Dark Heart.
Yeah, it has the Dark Heart. Like the Dreadmaw's cool because it has stealth, and so like you can sneak through and
Yeah,
flip the Nova that
this
way.
this card's cool. Just like like a valuable underdrop a lot of times.
Yeah,
Uh,
the Cutthroat Walker.
s- Newt says it needs more Vampiric. Yeah, maybe. How many current ways does it have to trigger it? Just the Dark Heart?
Yeah, and the Dreadmaw it sort of does. So that
Right.
because of
Dreadmaw and Portal
stealth.
Shade are like slow ways.
Hmm. Yeah, the
I guess
Vampirics.
like Ice Lance Megas can kind of do it
Hmm.
in like a bad way.
Yeah,
I guess it's good,
yeah.
like because they,
Teacher kind of does it too if you can play a Warbringer Ritual or a Thunder Crash Field next to it.
yeah, yeah. All right. I mean, that's probably enough ways, and then just some uh, generic purple
Stick.
spells.
Use the Charger Mammoth. Breakthrough.
Yeah. This, I mean, the red half is obviously insane.
Yeah,
The purple
yeah,
half seems just fine.
yeah. I mean, he has a Stitcher in there too, which is kind of important with all the Leyline Vermins running around. So, something to keep in
Yeah,
mind.
I suppose. I like this deck
Well,
is good enough. This is like the perfect situation for Rumble, right? Is when the rest of the deck is really good because then you don't lean on it so hard. So like if your guy gets ley lined and dies, obviously that's not ideal, but you can definitely
Hmm.
still just like win the game, right? Without it.
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
that's a thing a lot of the like first set of Rumbles decks that we saw in events kind of lacked. I can't say that for sure because I haven't like scoured the events for it or whatever, but it felt like at least when I was playing in Indy and we were doing some testing for Indy that when you had the Darkheart Nova combo, you're just like really leaning on it and
Mm.
uh
Yeah. Well, that's one of the nice things about the Stitcher too, is you can bring back the dark arts as well.
right. Right. I mean I think Stitcher's the best card in the game. But
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
which
still.
version, but it's busted, right? Like it's
Hmm. Yeah, if you want to, we can look at my Nova deck later, and you can. I think the Necrium half is better in it.
so he went 2-1 with
Yeah, he
that.
beat me. He beat me second round.
Okay.
So
And
he
then
lost the first round.
Grandfather said not to look at his deck, so we can look at it. Uh, so his purple half has a lot of spells to go
Yeah,
with its dark heart.
it,
This was kind of like what we were talking about, right? Is like,
yeah, it's double swamp moss. I think that's
oh, that's
kind of
neat.
like, yeah, that's like the big thing. So
Ben says Cutthroat or Doom Stitcher for the win. Yeah, that's probably right. Now that the summoning and mystical ones don't go infinite, like they're still good, but not
yeah, it's still nice
bonkers.
to be able to. It's still nice to be able to make a minion that you can replace something with,
Yeah. So
because that's what a lot of people run into a lot of times, anyways. If you don't have enough minion generation.
right. So this
Yeah,
this green half looks like it's good.
yeah. I think the purple half's really good with
Maybe
the.
it's worse than I think it is. I just saw the glow hive and the swamp moth and assumed that that was good enough, but it doesn't look like it ticks many of the other life gain boxes.
It's got Botanimate, and then that's it. So it's
But
Glow Hive.
the double swamp modest is really sweet. I
Hmm. Yeah, and it's got a Ferocious Roar too, with all the minion generation with the Infernal Ritual, Ghastly Renewal, Group Meal.
yeah. I mean this is a deck that like again I look at it, it looks very similar to because he's got the
The
army
other two.
commander also. I assume he's playing the
Hmm.
um
Yeah,
like
there's no
seriously
Mantis or Forge Seal in this one either.
right. But just having like this, it's like all the same things we talked about with the weekend and Greg's deck, but we get to like highlight the double swamp moss because that's very cool.
Yeah,
Grandfather
he
says the
pulled
purple
this.
is amazing. I agree. I think this purple is very good.
Yeah, he pulled that on one of his videos. I remember watching it. He was super excited about that one.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, it's so hard to find Dark Hearts with more than like 2 or 3 spells. So it's super
Right.
cool that it has 5
Yeah.
spells.
Yeah, it's got a lot of like neat stuff going on. It has a Stitcher and
Yep, and it has a lot of minion generation with the Stitcher. Om Nom Nom, Infernal Ritual, Group Meal, and Ghastly Renewal all make minions.
yep. Yeah, the Pro App's really good for sure. The only like Soul Siphon is like a mediocre ability, but the rest of it all seems really really good.
Yeah, and then you got the Spirit Reaver. Everybody loves it.
This is such a strange card.
Yeah,
Like I
it's
don't think
so
it's a
bad.
bad card.
I
Like
don't think it's bad.
it's like not good. It's just weird. Like
It's
where
something
did
you
it
don't want to play because it doesn't trade really well, and it doesn't
that's
really kill
true.
anything.
It's like the worst 4/5 ever.
It's a 3/5 even.
Well, but it can always shrink the thing across from it, right? That's the
Right,
so it's
right,
like almost a 4/5. I,
right.
I don't know. I don't is this like a leave over from the digital game or something? I don't understand this ability because it doesn't seem like it matches anything else that's going on from like the design principle of the game.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
I don't remember seeing
i-
that card.
is there another card in the game that is like choose a creature type for any effect?
I don't. No. I mean, there's stuff that gives creature type stuff. So, but there's nothing that lets you choose a creature type.
Right. That's what I'm saying, and like it seems so strange. I don't know. It's a cool picture though.
Yeah.
He's like a weird goat man.
Yeah.
Uh, just
Yeah.
that's that's when
One
you
of
know
the
the
cool.
card's bad is when I have to mention like it's got a cool picture.
Yeah. One of the cool things about the digital game, like Krogius was a digital thing,
Right.
and when you look at the level up pictures on Krogius, it was like that in the digital game too. So like Zemus and Krogius and stuff like that, the pictures change as they you upgrade them.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad they kept that on a couple of those cards. The Zenith is really sweet.
Yeah,
Like Krogius
they
is
said.
cool, but it's no Zemus.
Yeah, I think they're because some of the cards have the art for all three of them, but they didn't actually use all three of the arts. So because I
Right.
think Torg My Guardian had three different ones, but they only used one.
Did it? I didn't remember that.
In the original Soulforge, it did, yeah.
All right, let's look at Kuz's deck.
Yep. It's double Darkheart, and none of them are Necrium.
It's double Betrayer Darkheart, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it has 9 spells.
Yep. He had it on stream once. He uh he has a video out there where he played it too.
Stat Sharbug is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Like, it's obviously not the bonkers one, but this is like a good one for it to have.
Yeah. Yeah, just make its back end big.
So, yeah, so you get more activations out of it.
Mm-hmm. It's cool that he has dark hearts with Sippian augmentation too.
God, I love this card. It's so good. Just, I mean, it's like if you don't have the mage, it's like just okay, but if you get both
Still
halves, of it, it's
giving
just
all
unfair.
giving all your creatures 4 armor in cycle 1 is insane.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Because it's not one of your creatures; it's just all of them.
Yeah, but
It's like
that requires some work to like okay, so ignoring the second half, how many
it
creatures in
requires
play do you have to have for this to be worth a full card?
right. Well, I figure at minimum it's going to be saving the creatures anyway. So you'll be saving 1 or 2. Live to die another turn.
Right. Like, I suppose if you give 2 creatures 4 armor, that's probably the value of a card you don't want to play but would be okay having in your deck.
Right.
Obviously the upside of this whole card is incredible, but
Right. Yeah, because it's a shard back.
oh yeah, that's
Rules are
cool
chummy.
too. As an energy prison, I'd like.
Well, I'm just saying it. The augmentation works like a shard back. Deals
Oh
2
yeah.
damage to all the
Well,
enemy creatures.
it's good with Shardback too, right? Because you like have a Shardback in play,
Mm-hmm.
and then it blocks more than it would normally.
Mm-hmm. And then let's see. Yeah, and it works. It works like the Thunder Sword does, right? Where it only has to take non-combat damage, and so like
Oh, it's
if you give it,
non-combat. Okay,
yeah.
that would be harder
So
to do.
well, I mean, if you have like firestorms and stuff like that, like you can give it armor and
Yeah,
firestorm, and then it still triggers and doesn't lose health.
I guess the Shardback in this deck is probably not going to trigger very often. Like, there's going to be some random board state where you have level 2 Shardback in play, and you have your like Flame Sculpture Seal or something, and you want to hit like their whole squad with it, so you Flame Sculptures. Oh, you can't even hit your own guy with this. This says
No.
enemy. Is there one you?
Yeah. The only thing is Mystical Teacher, I think, that you might be able to target your own thing with.
Yeah, you could do it with Mystical Teacher. So this card is like actually not that good in this deck, but it's still okay.
Yeah. Because
It's
even
got a Charge
then,
Plate Justicar. I bet this thing's huge. Yeah. I'm a big boy.
yeah. But you have
It's
to play 2 bad ones to get a good one.
yeah.
It's like
That's
a
how
previous.
that's why Church and Cody have a like Charge Plate podcast, right? Is because
Hmm.
like Church is the 1-4 and Cody's the 3-4, and then the podcast is the 28-25.
Hmm.
Two bad ones make a good one.
Yeah,
Uh,
I didn't realize that, but that's pretty good.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to like throw random shade at them, but I don't know if they'll even listen to this. Uh, I mean, this deck is fine. Seems pretty
Yeah.
good.
Hmm. The
Double
people I
Dark
played
Heart
against.
is like
Yeah,
probably
double.
really annoying.
And then it's got Flame Jet and Warbringer Ritual, which is crazy too.
This card is so sweet, Warbringer Ritual.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
lightning brand without the condition of having a mage.
Well, it has the condition of having to play a bad card in cycle one.
Cycle one, yeah.
Uh,
But
but
2 and 3, you don't have
right,
to
then
worry
it's
about.
crazy.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, this is
So
sweet. Like just having like five spells in red with a Dark Heart, like that's way off the scale on RNG.
yeah, and two of them can play free spells.
Right. Yeah. And this was a set too. Huh.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. When set
Jeez.
two works, huh?
Well, it's like all set one cards except Warbringer.
I know, but I'm just saying, like when the set two algorithm works.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to Mr. Ryan, who's
The winner. Yep, he's the one I played very first round.
so he is also playing green purple, which doesn't surprise me because that's what he does.
It's double ley line.
Oh, this was the purple he bought from Tess last week that
Hmm.
everybody was clamoring over.
I was one of them clamoring over it.
I mean, it's good. It has a Stitcher, and obviously the
Has
Betrayer
soul
Leyline
reap.
is dope, and
So has
has a
soul
bunch of good
reap.
spells.
Yeah, the spells are all good. Like,
Yeah, it's good.
so like,
Its guys are kind of crappy besides Leyline, but I guess
well, I mean, the Amoeba's fine, Creeper's fine, Dreadmaul's
Hibernating
fine.
Amoeba. Yeah, I guess this gets really big. And it's big at level
Mhm.
2.
Like Indomitable Fiend's always good when you're on the Forge, but if you're off Forge, it's a sad card to play.
Yeah, this card never feels very good. Um, to me anyway. I mean, obviously, like
Mhm.
it does some bonkers stuff once in a while, but
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
it's definitely one where it sits in your hand a lot in most
right.
decks,
So it has a
unless you have.
Krogius. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It what is
A
it?
Rex with two other
It has a
dinosaurs,
couple dinos.
three
I get.
dinos with the might of the herd.
Yeah, that I mean that feels kind of bad, but
Yeah.
I mean those cards are good, but just on the number of dinos it has, it feels kind of bad. But it's like Newt points out that there's 5 beasts for his uh,
Soul Reap.
Soul Reap.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a little extra value.
Yeah, you got Dreadmaul, Creeper, Vermin, Meba. Is Meba a beast? Or is it just like an ooze or something? But
It's
you've
a
at least got.
ooze.
So you got Vermin, Creeper, and Dreadmaul then?
Yeah. I mean that's a lot for one half,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Yeah. And then if you can find a Vermin Mantis Glowhive deck,
Yeah.
get 3 more. Yeah. So yeah, this is what he won the tournament with. So the
This
Leyline
is
Vermins gave him
this
a
is
lot of
like
value.
right. This is just like the generic. God, why is it a 4/7?
I don't know.
It's just it's
That's
so big.
it's one of those questions because there's a lot of random cards in this game that have bad effects, but they're big because they have bad effects, and then there's other cards that have good effects, so they're small. And then
Right.
Vermin's like big and has a good effect.
Right. Like isn't
It's not even
Demon
level gated.
isn't Demon like supposed to be really big at level 1 and 2? Isn't that like like, and then it's bad at level 3 or something, and it's like a 5/5, and that's all it does. But
Oh,
Leyline
like a
Vermin is a 4/7 for some reason.
yeah, like the combat demon. Yeah.
Right. Obviously, there's other iterations of it, but just in general, like,
Yeah, I was just going off the base demon.
it's just crazy. It's just, and Grandfather adds it's common.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, yeah, a combat demon's a 7/7, 8/9, and 11/12. That's just the base demon.
Right. So it's worse.
So a
It's
base
it's
demon will still
it's
kill a
one
vermin.
stat less. It's one stat less than a level 1 Vermin. It's the same as level 2, and then what is it at level 3?
An 11/12.
So it's the same at 2 and 3.
It's an 8/9 and an 11/12. So
Right. It's obviously it's not the exact same. It's just like the same number of total stats.
gotcha. Yeah, 23 and 17.
But it doesn't have a nutso ability like this thing does.
Nope, it's
Like
just a
it's,
plain old
it's just like a
creature.
blank dude.
Yeah.
Ugh. What are the other big level ones? Like Glow or Gloom Reaper Hag is like a 7/5.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like one stat line better than this, but it levels up really poorly. Uh, yeah, this card is pretty something. I played against dude says fair and balanced, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
I mean,
for the record.
a War Tusk is a 5/8, 8/9, and 12/14. So,
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's probably like the biggest dude, the elephant. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I mean, for the record, I'm not complaining about balance because I don't think that cards should be perfectly balanced. I don't think you should try to design your game to be perfectly balanced. Like, I just this one, the combination of it feels a little bit on the heavy end.
Yeah, because it's got good
um,
stats and a
but
good
I
ability.
but I wouldn't want them to change it. Like,
Not now, no.
not I mean not ever. Like I've come out a bunch of times, even on the stuff they have changed, and said like I wish that they just would let it alone, because I think that 95% of bans and erratas and restrictions and all that stuff are negative for the game. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, in general, like um, Yeti Warcaller is a 4/7 to start. What is that card?
It's the movement guy. Whenever a creature moves,
Oh
you
yeah.
can tap it, you can activate it and deal 3 damage to something whenever a creature moves.
So well, this deck won in the field of very good
Craziness.
players and very
Yeah.
good decks.
Yeah, I was talking
Um,
to Weekend about it last night, and he's like, "Man, that was so stressful."
it's great. I mean this is the kind of thing you want, right? Is like, I mean maybe it's
I
not.
I
Maybe
love I loved
uh,
it. I loved tournament. Like if I signed up for tournaments and it looked like and it just had all players like this all the time, I'd love it.
right. I wish that I had been around for this. Obviously you filled up to 8, so it didn't matter. But
Yeah, he's
um,
grandfather has be on the lookout for it. It's going to be limited to 8, just like this one.
yeah, but this was sweet. I would have just liked to like watch the games. Uh, Eric says not balance your game is a real good way to establish a toxic banana style game. Like, I'm not saying don't do balancing. I'm saying like the game
Perfectly
is
balanced.
not good when every card is the exact same. Like power level. Like, because unless they're
Yeah,
literally all the same card, there's always going to be a small power level difference. Because like if every card's a 2/2, then the 1/3 becomes the most interesting card in the game, right? Like, so at every level, there's going to be something that is a draw for whatever. And I don't think that things should be way out of whack. Like, there are definitely some, like, bans and
yeah, like
erratas and stuff that power level
like
problems
how
that do need to be fixed. But
like
the,
Hello
well,
Winter.
I don't even agree with that. But,
Yeah,
uh, um, but in general, like, we play card games because we don't want to play chess,
Right. Where
right?
everything is
I'm
known.
not saying that people don't want to play chess. Like, I'm sure there are people that play card games and chess, but like
Hmm.
the draw of a game like Magic
There's,
or whatever,
there's
like this,
parity.
right? Exactly. It's there's some randomness involved, and if you don't enjoy that, then you would be drawn to chess, or you'd be drawn to like heavy Euro board games or whatever, where the variance is lower. And
Hmm.
so I think it's important that bad cards exist, and I think it's important that good cards exist. It's just they shouldn't be like there should be a band where it's okay inside this band, and you don't want to go
Right.
above or below it. But like
Hmm.
if one thing sneaks a little ways above it, like it's not the end of the
Yeah.
world, or
Yeah. The
below it,
hardest. Yeah. The hardest part about this game is like the algorithm creates decks, but and if you get a deck with a lot of cards on the higher end of the power level, then that's where you end up with decks that
Eh,
are super hard to beat.
Eric, you're doing a real good job at just like clipping a sentence I said, and like I disagree. Where I'm trying to make like and I'm trying to make a statement saying like we're not rolling dice for $100 bills. The game is not RNG based. Like we're not just playing craps. But there's a spectrum there between chess and craps. And if you didn't like RNG, like you're closer to the chess end, and if you do like RNG, you're closer to the craps end. And somewhere in the middle is the correct
Arcade.
amount. And
Yep.
the obviously like different aspects of the game are going to appeal to different people in different ways, but ultimately like my generalization, which generalizations do not apply to every sole person, but
Hmm.
are usually correct, is that card game players play card games because they want a strategy game that has a certain amount of RNG, because
Yeah.
the RNG allows for creativity. The RNG allows for
Hmm.
tactical decisions as opposed to strategic
Yep.
decisions. And again, on the spectrum from chess to craps, like you like that. I mean, I like the like closer to the chess end, but like
Right.
having a place where there's some in-game creativity, which I'm not saying chess doesn't have. I'm not a chess player. I know I'm not a chess player. I can't tell you a lot about it, but like when you're playing Magic cards, I choose a deck to play
Yep.
because it's a deck I like to play, or it's a deck I know is good at whatever random event that I should go to.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and you draw your random seven, and throughout the game you draw a bunch of random cards, and
Yep.
it provides you with a set of unique decisions to that game.
Yep.
And
Whereas this one, you don't get to hang on to any of the cards, and so you're always got new decisions. You can't plan your next turn
right,
because you don't know what you're going to draw.
right. So Eric says I play this despite the RNG, perhaps at my own peril, but not because of it. That doesn't mean all cards should be equal, though. I agree about that. Yeah. See, I mean, we're definitely on the same page about that. Like, it would lose a lot of interesting aspects if the uniqueness of cards, like, one, if they're not all identical, they're never going to be perfectly balanced. Two, if the balance level is very tight, then the differentiator becomes uniqueness, and that leads to complexity creep, which ultimately usually just leads to power creep because we're humans and we're not very good at balancing things that are very complex with one another. But I think complexity creep is almost worse than power creep for most games, where when you pick up a card as a new player or a game as a new player, if it's a board game, whatever, and there's parts of it are just like walls of text or
Yep.
like weird interactions that you have to know the comprehensive rules to really understand how
Hmm.
or why they work. That's very off-putting, almost more so than like it
A
being
balanced game.
right, like out of balance.
Hmm. Yeah, because if you increase the what is it the the entry level, so it makes it a lot harder.
Yeah.
So
I
the
mean,
the barrier to entry, if you raise that bar, you're not going to get a lot of new players.
right. Yeah. The obviously the first barrier of entry is always money, like for
Yep.
everyone. But
Oh yeah.
like comfort of play experience is like the second one, where it's not so like everybody thinks it's like how fun it is, and this is an aspect of that. But
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like how easy is it to pick up and play and learn? Because everybody likes first impressions, and uh, so if it's comfortable, it's easy to do. If it's like even to the point where like if it's got a bunch of little fiddly pieces you have to get in and out of the box every time, like that's kind of a turn off. Like just
Hmm.
you just want it to be nice and comfortable so that a large amount of your like mental energy and stress energy
In the
can be
game.
focused on the enjoyment of the game rather than like the
Yep.
external parts of it. But
Yeah. Have you ever played the game like Mage Wars?
I have
Because
not.
that's one of those games where like there's just so many little pieces and stuff, and you're sitting there for like 10 or 15 minutes just getting stuff set up, and you're just like, dang, you
Like
know.
a good
And
example for me is Marvel Champions,
mhm.
which is a game that I absolutely love. I think it's great, but it has so much setup that I just like
Yeah.
I never want to like get it out of the box, and then I never want to like set up the scenario by finding 10 extra decks and shuffling them all together, and then I know at the end of the
Yeah.
game I have to tear them all apart.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I love like soul forging games like this, because your setup is you pull out your deck and a couple of dice and then you roll, you know.
Right? Yeah. I mean, if you're good at it, you don't need like a ton of stuff. This game is for a card game. This game is very fiddly,
Yeah, it's not like Magic.
right? Because obviously it was set up as the digital game we were talking about at the beginning of the show, where
Yeah.
the digital part took care of all the nonsense middle bits, right? Like
Hmm.
uh, games that have perpetual damage
Yep.
are like that, and they always will be.
Yep. Yeah, that's where Ben's Onk's life tracker thing will be
That
really
th-
awesome.
that thing is so sweet.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ben and all his work on that ridiculous piece of machinery.
Yeah. Yeah, because
I've
Eric's
only
been taking it to all the tournaments and using it.
right. I've only seen it on Eric's table at Indy. That was the only time I've seen it, but it was so slick and cool. And
Yeah, because
so if
and it works so fast because you just push a button and it's off. You push a button, it's on. You click,
oh
click, click,
yeah,
and then your power's ready.
anybody that's in chat and follows us and is really into this game, I assume that like if you're watching this stream that you are really into this game, and it's if you think you're going to keep playing this game for a significant amount of time, you should just invest in Onk's Kickstarter or Patreon or whatever he's on, because that thing is so dope. And
Yeah, he's doing a Kickstarter for it,
yeah,
so recommend.
right, for sure.
There you go. Have some news on that coming up soon.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. If you go on Kickstarter, I think he has a page there, and you can follow it, and then it'll
What? What did Justin says? Nope. What?
yeah, yeah. There's I think there's a page there you can follow, and then whenever it comes up, he can
Oh yeah.
it'll notify you.
Grandfather doesn't care about this game. He's just hanging out for the BillyBadAim analysis.
Yeah,
Uh,
they,
get the make a little celebrity blood, and he comes out of the woodwork, and then goes
yep,
back to mediocrity.
yep. Go
But
back into hiding tomorrow, become a nobody again.
but yeah, if you're in here, if you're watching this on or listening to this after the fact on YouTube or Pod or wherever, um, check out Aunt Gaming's Kickstarter for the life tracker thing. It's so cool, and just even if you just like give him $5 or whatever, if you don't buy one, just we like to support other people in the community, and this is kind of like a big deal.
Yep. And then Eric, he just put, "That's a shame, Justin, because we were just going to tell people about those sweet custom play mats you can get."
grandfather is in it for the sweet YouTube dollars.
Yeah.
Where are my sweet YouTube dollars? God, it's been expensive for me. I'm paying
Yeah.
out.
I know.
The-
And I'm here for free. What's going on?
yeah. You chose to get on the bus. This is
Feels very short.
ouch. Ugh.
Oh,
Well,
man.
I do appreciate you coming on. It has been. I'm sorry we didn't get any games. We just like had good discussion the whole time. So
Oh, it's all good.
that it's been good and it's been great to have you. I do want to remind everyone that our event is starting in a week and a half, but the sign up is closing. I wonder if
The
I can.
sealed. The sealed
Um,
closes on the 9th.
Right. I'm trying to find it. I don't know if we have a thing on the event page or not. Let's see.
Yeah, it's in the Discord, and then you.
Right.
So-
I know it's in our Discord. You can check it out there. I was just hoping that I could like quick bring it up on the stream, but maybe I'm dumb. I'm just gonna transition back to my stupid face. So yeah. So signups end on Friday because we have some logistics to do in between for opening and assigning decks for the sealed event. So
There you go. There's the link to the event if you want it.
let's see. Open. All right. So yeah. So like I was saying, I don't. Currently, we only have a couple. We got 5. We really want to get to 8. So obviously, everybody here again is like a bunch of great players. The Greg and Cardboard Newt and Carl, and so
Yep.
I know that it's set 1, and some people wish it was set 2. I wish it was set 2 also, just because I think that it's a little more hype. But I actually think set 1 is a better sealed experience, though I've gotten some disagreement opinions of that. But in any case, with set 1, it's $35. You get a set 1 booster. It's actually a starter set booster because that's just what we have in stock. But we'll assign you the decks over the course of the week so that you can play them. A week from Saturday is the event, and you'll play the sealed event, and then we will ship you the product for your sealed in the mail as part of your tournament entry in burger token boxes, which are pretty good. Like they're not like anything crazy, but hopefully it's a good value for people that want to play sealed, because it's about the best thing that we could figure to do for an online sealed event. So if you're interested, signups end on Friday night. So don't wait until next week because you just won't be able to get in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
How come
thanks.
you're not signed up for this, Billy? Huh? Where's your sign up?
It is not there. I have no excuses.
Okay, good. Get on it. All right. Yeah. So,
Oh,
if you have any
I'll just go
questions
sign
about it, visit the Discord, message me or Jesse. We're obviously happy to help with any sign up issues.
Yep. And thanks, Ben. It's great to talk to you too. I love the talking to people in this community. Everybody's been great. Everybody I played against, everybody I talked to. That's one of the great things about this game is just everybody you play with and talk to. They're just awesome.
It has been a very welcoming community, as well as a very active one, which I think is like, it's hard to describe in the gaming discords that I've been a part of. You're usually like kind of one or the other. Not that anybody's mean or like not welcoming, Um, but just like if it's a big active community, people may be a little more standoffish. Or if it's like a super welcoming community, it may be smaller and like less interested in big events and stuff. Um,
Hmm.
but this seems to have both in multiple discords, which is great. And grandfather doesn't want to buy my $35 starter kit because he has 8,000 packs already. He wants to play Diablo apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, that
But
was one of the things I did buy into the Kickstarter, so I had quite a few boosters from the original Kickstarter to start the game.
yeah, that's sweet. I wish that I had been in on it at the time. I obviously just didn't even know about it then. But
Get those sweet, sweet alternate art minions.
they do look cool. Uh, they do look cool for sure. But
Yeah, that's the only difference I really know of besides cardstock quality is
they have
the
like a
difference.
they have a different set symbol or something.
Yeah, it's green and purple instead of gold and blue.
Oh, but it's like the same circle. Like
No, it's
for
not a circle. It's like a weird diamond shaped thing.
oh, okay. So it is just a different symbol completely. Okay, that's neat though.
Yeah.
And like if the game takes off, they maybe wear something to a collector that way. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's no real difference. The the like card quality changed a little bit. The stock feels different. The printing isn't quite as vivid. So,
yeah, I wonder if they changed printers or something in between. I know like obviously they had uh, some like distribution issues with set 2. So I don't
mhm.
know if like over the course of last year, obviously like you go back to when their Kickstarter was running, we're in a time where like the whole world is in a crazy state for uh,
Anything.
right business in general, but
Yeah.
specifically like the companies that printed or minted board game supplies were essentially like almost unreachable during the COVID time. But uh, so who knows? But I mean, it's cool to have, right? Like it's just even even if like we get to a point where the card quality matters and uh, they like ban it for whatever reason because it's slightly thicker or something, like it's still just like a
Mhm.
collector's item and cool to have if you're into the game. Ben says he thinks Kickstarter was done stateside and Alpha was done overseas. That would make sense. That would kind of follow the pattern of like how distribution was running at that time. But
Huh. Yeah. Wizards took all the paper bin, printing all the magic cards.
yeah,
You know, Kickstarter had the cool dice too, the cool 10-sided Soulforge dice.
right,
So
yeah,
I have some of those too. And like the play mats were a little bit smaller than the ones that they sold later, the Kickstarter ones.
oh yeah. I the playmats are like kind of a mess. Like again, it's cool to have just because of Kickstarter, but like in general, when they added the
Exalt lanes, yeah,
Exalt
messed up.
lanes and then
Yeah,
reissued a playmat for it, that's like as much criticism as I give them. I think they do a great job, but that was kind of dropping the ball.
yeah.
like,
They're
uh,
selling those cool dinosaur mats, and now you're like, I can't use my cool dinosaur mat.
right. I mean, you can. It's just like awkward, right?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know.
Luckily, I have my spell slinger all set one, so there you go.
Yep, perfect. Okay, well, I think we're gonna wrap it up for tonight. We made it to about 9:30.
Hmm.
I appreciate everybody that was in here in chat. I especially appreciate you for coming on, Mr. Rusty, and
Yep, no problem.
you're welcome back anytime. But sign up for our sealed event so that I can fill it out before tomorrow night or Friday night. Um, but yeah, so again, one last time, signups for sealed are until Friday at midnight, and grandfather's in here with some shameless some shameless plugs. I would have just told him to buy your mat. Everybody go buy Grandfather's mats. They're sweet.
As the exalt
Yeah.
lanes and the rules.
And he's just an excellent artist.
Mm-hmm.
So check it out. He's got good stuff. But like I said, thank you, Billy. Thanks everybody for being in chat. We had a great time. Sorry we didn't get any games. I thought we'd play some games, but we just kept talking. So that's what you get. That's what you get if you get on the bus sometimes.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about this game. Like, it's so easy just to talk about all the cool stuff going on.
Yeah, we're in a good spot. I kind of thought we were gonna be in kind of a lull prior to Gen Con. Now that Denver's over, we haven't had any new product release for a couple months now, and we had Indy and Denver, but there wasn't a lot of coverage of those other than rhetoric from the community.
Yep.
So I'm
UK
hoping
was
that
pretty big.
Yeah, that's true. Alex went to UK, and I haven't seen any real results from that.
Yeah, they posted stuff on their Facebook page. They were actually active on social media with the
Right.
UK stuff. Justin Gary was there.
Yeah, I know that Justin Gary was there, and also Alex was there, because I was trying to contact Alex over the weekend, and I told Shadow, I was like, how come Alex doesn't respond to my DMs? And he's like, he's in UK. He's not going to talk to you until next week. But
Yep. And then we got Origins coming up and Gen Con, so the Worlds.
yeah, and obviously with those events, there's been stuff going on, but like I said, it's kind of only been player rhetoric. I want to see some articles or some actual coverage. That's what I would like to see of those kind of events. Obviously, we have our local, well, not local, but our Discord content creators like Eric that record all their matches. But
And then Ryan and Greg posted some of their stuff too.
Yeah, I know they have a nice discussion about it on his YouTube, and I haven't watched it yet. I need to though,
yeah. And then Eric recorded their game at Denver. I guess they were going to do that too. Their final match.
Yeah, which I would like to watch. I assume that it's the same matchup again as Indy.
Yep.
Where they also play in the finals. Those guys are taking over the North American Ultimate Championship scene. Is the Karish brothers?
They should have went to the UK.
That'd be so sweet. Jurch is the go-to guy, but I'm trying to get him to send me to some of this stuff because I'm greedy. But I couldn't convince Shadow to send me to UK, so their loss, I guess.
Yep. Do you plan on going into any of the events soon?
I believe Jesse and I will be at Gen Con. I'm not going to go to Origins. And the Gen Con is actually still kind of up in the air because we don't have a place to stay yet.
Gotcha.
And obviously, we're getting to the point where it's going to be just incredible expensive.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think we'll make it work. But
yeah, that's one of the nice things. I live near Indy, so I sleep in my bed for Gen Con.
Were you at Indy?
I came on Sunday for the UC Championship.
Did we meet and I just don't remember?
I don't think we met.
Okay.
I was there and Eric introduced me to some people, and then I walked around and talked to some people, and the sealed event was going on and stuff, and so I didn't want to bother a lot of people, so I didn't.
Well, I'm sorry that we didn't meet in person then, because obviously I was there. But, maybe at Gen Con then.
Yeah, I signed up for the tournament, but I have some anxiety issues, and it cropped up, and I didn't make it for the Saturday event. So.
Well, that's okay. Got to take care of yourself, man. So that's good.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. So, but yeah. So my plan is to be there for Gen Con and do Worlds. So I was leveling up that Spell Slinger that we looked at, and then I have a Nova deck too. So I just haven't decided what I want to do.
Well, that's cool. I hope that you get him there so you can play, and hopefully I'll be there too, so we can.
Yep. And then, yeah, because it seems like Gen Con's going to be huge. So
Well, yeah, I
there's a
mean
lot of
the
people want
con
to go.
itself is always huge, like crazy every time. But I agree. Like we were talking about that last week. I was surprised already that there were 10 people signed up for the $50 Worlds thing when just while we were
Hmm.
talking about it. That seems like a lot.
Yep,
But
already. And it's probably going to look like grandfather's pop up.
right, and it's going to be. I mean, but that's what you want, right? If it's actually going to
Yep.
be Worlds, is like uh, um, all the
You
good
want it to be
players.
big
So
and splashy.
yep. So
You want
we'll
it to feel like it.
hopefully we'll have some kind of coverage of it. But yeah, so
Cool.
well, like I said, I appreciate you, man.
Yep.
We'll talk again soon. Everybody, sign. Everybody, if you're going to sign up for Sealed, got to do it by Friday night. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great weekend. Be safe. We'll see you next week on Wednesday, and Jesse will be back. And actually, next Wednesday is the collab we're doing with Charge Plated Podcast. So please come and chat with Cody and Church while we have them here. But that's it for tonight, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week.